Okay, it is about 7:04 p.m. Today is Wednesday, November the 10th. And welcome to week one, also known as open house for J250, drugs and crime. And many of you know me, but my name is Richard Wright, and that I will be your instructor for the next 5.5 weeks, all the way until December the 17th. When this class ends, which gets here so fast, as you already know. And I'm going to talk tonight about how um, I expect you guys to operate in this class. And pretty much those of you who are have had me before know how I am. I'm a firm, fair, and consistent professor. I work with my students to try to assure student success. So I do my part, but sometimes my students don't do their part. And when you do your part, it the formula works out pretty well, pretty well. I'm also excited about having students that I've had in other classes to follow me to another class instead of saying, "Oh no, Professor Wright's teaching that class. Get me out of there." Okay. It's funny though. I say that jokingly, but I had a student that did that, and then they called me back about 2 weeks after they were starting the other class, the same class that I was teaching, and said, "Is there any way I can get back in your class?" I said, "I don't think so. Not because I won't let you. The advisors, they're not gonna not gonna allow you to do that." So uh, but anyway, I encourage students all the time to put their best that's bad grammar, feet, best foot forward, and to do the best in terms of completing their assignments. Um, some of you might wonder, if you're wondering, why am I looking up? Because I have a monitor that's just above my little monitor on my laptop, so I can protect these old eyes and be able to see what I'm reading and grading. So let's get right into the expectations for this class. Uh, Let me share, and let's go with this. Okay, so here we are in the course home page, and in and I tell students all the time. I say, um, if you follow the things that I say and pay close attention to the lectures, not just what's in the module, because I do repeat some of the things in there, but I explain them differently. And a lot of students say, "Oh, I get it the way you say it than the way that they write it." So I have to clarify things for you, and I'm always able to do that. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. So I'm going to start out by telling you how to, well, I'm not going to tell you how to navigate too much, but messages. Let's see if I got any messages. I got messages, a message from Terry Rogers, and she has access, so that's good. And so I haven't gotten any others. I did send out a welcome email to everyone. And then we have uh, the grade book, and I will be um, looking at, that's where you do your grading, and we're going to talk about the topics here, the discussion post, and the assignment a little bit, and the quiz a little bit, and this. But tonight, primarily, we're going to talk about how things work in this class. So one of the first things I like to start with is letting you see the calendar. And you'll see the calendar every week. Um, as many of you know, I like the month view, and you can see that the course begins today and that we have the open house lecture, and that if you were to click on this, it would take you to the day, and then it would tell you the link again to get here. But those of you who are here already don't need that because you're here. But that's where you can find it. The students say, I can't find the link. So your initial post, here's the deal. This week, your initial post is due Saturday, and reply posts are due Saturday. Well, Professor Wright, I thought the initial posts were due Tuesday. But the class on the 9th, we were still in term 1. So therefore, they used to do it Friday, but now they said no, both can be due Saturday. So both assignments have to be done by the 13th. And then your written assignment, and then your live classroom lecture and your quiz the next day. Then you see, starting next week, by the way, our lectures will not be on Wednesdays. They will be on Tuesdays of every week. Tuesday all the way down. And if you go to, there we go. If you go to December, you will see the last lecture is the 14th, and that the course ends 3 days later on the 17th. That is absolutely your last day of class. So, but trust me, it goes real fast. And I have right now, I have at least one person in here who knows that it goes real fast. We just finished a class yesterday, and now in another class. So I hesitate to say I hope you enjoyed your break, because you didn't really have a break. Or you had a 6-hour break, maybe. I don't know, a short period of break. But your real break won't come until the 17th. Okay. So anyway, you have it before you, and it has everything in there. And notice that all are set for Central Standard Time, whatever zone you're in. If your calendar says something else, you need to contact personal support, because all assignments for Rasmussen are set up for CST, which is Central Standard Time. And so it's very important. We're technically on daylight saving time, but it's still Central. So that's how the times are set up for due dates for assignments, because I've had a few people to come back and ask me about that. So that's how the calendar operates. The next thing that I want to do is come down before I get to the announcements, is to show you this. Those of you who have already been in class with me already know about this, but I'm going to show it to you now. So here is the syllabus. The syllabus is so important. And what the syllabus does, it tells you what the expectations are for this course. It gives you my name. Here are my office hours. I have students who understand totally I mean what I say. It says you can call me, text me, or email me any hour of the day except the 25th hour. Do not text me, call me, or email me the 25th hour of the day. Don't even try to do it. If you're going to spend time trying to figure that one out, you're going to probably work out to in ad infinitum, which means forever. So just remember what you learned a long time ago, how many hours there are in the day. So, and I've had students that talk to me late at night if they need it. But here's what I want you to know up front, and I say this. Notice the order I put it in. Call me or text me. You can put those flip-flop. But emailing me is the slowest way of getting a response. So if you have an urgent issue, an urgent matter, some students, I don't care how much I say this, they will still email me. And I discourage that because of the fact that you can do it, but for information purposes, but generally, I like to talk to you so that I can give it to you. And when you hear my voice and your voice connecting, sometimes light bulbs come on. But as you probably already know, that emails, you lose a lot in the interpretation. Sometimes I can send a student an email and they think, oh, that student, I'm not really getting things. But the bottom line is that uh, I prefer talking to you as well. So, okay, I see, I see Michaela. Michaela, you can type in the chat box. You've been in some of my classes before, haven't you? Yes or no? But your name seems familiar to me. Have you been in classes with me before? Okay, I didn't see anything, so I don't know if you typed in there. Denise, I don't think you've been in any classes of mine. I don't think so. Um, yep, I didn't think so. Well, you are now. Oh, Michaela left the meeting, so maybe that means that she was early for the meeting. Uh, yeah, well, I hope you have that same position, Denise, at the end of this course because it's a very interesting course. There's a lot of hands-on things that I talk about, and then I'm going to be expressing my position about this as weeks go along. So, but anyway, that's how you communicate with me. Here's my phone number, which is right here. It's always with me everywhere I go. And so uh, sometimes I don't get to you right that second. I might be engaged in like I'm doing a lecture. If somebody was to text me speaking of that, let me make sure that I got the volume down. I just turned it down. So if somebody calls me, and sometimes students will call me that are supposed to be in the lecture while I'm in the lecture. So anyway, this is my email address. And then this is a reminder of something that I'm going to say over and over and over, that you are required to conduct research for all papers. That means the sole source of the papers should not be the textbook. We have a great library learning resource center. You'll lose 2 points for failure to conduct research. So if you use the module and you use the textbook, you're going to lose 2 points. I didn't say you can use them, but don't lean on them. I want you to develop research skills. That's one of the key factors that will make you a better professional as well. Learn how to research. All written assignments should be in APA format. If you have issues with APA, and I see that, I will have you to reach out to a tutor or refer you to a tutor or recommend you to a tutor. And so anyway, citations, and this is only part of it, citations in the body of the paper and references at the end. One other part is a cover page as well as double spaced. All documents, listen to me, all documents, unless stated otherwise, will be in the form of a Word document, not a PDF, not a publisher, and certainly not a PowerPoint. Very important, okay? All right, so now let's go down. This is a textbook, which you have embedded in a class. Discussion posts, I talked about them already. Make sure your discussion posts have some content in them. Yes, no, short answers, I agree, are not sufficient. I want to see some thoughtful, detailed responses, some thoughtful, detailed posts. I encourage students to reply to as many posts as possible. You won't get additional points, but I acknowledge you in that when I grade you for that. Be sure you get your posts in on time. I will talk about, well, I might as well get it out of the way now. Uh, Discussion posts, like I said, this week are due both Saturday. So if you submit a post on Sunday, um, let's say this, if you submit initial post on Saturday and a reply post on Sunday, you'll get points for it, but you'll lose a point for that 1 day late post. However, if you submit both posts on Sunday, you're not going to get credit at all, and you're going to lose the points that you see that are available to you, and you don't want to do that at all. Now, I can do other things with other things, but discussion posts, when the forum ends that week, it's over. Now, what's going to end up happening starting next week is that your initial posts are going to be due next Tuesday. I already mentioned earlier that the lectures will be next Tuesday, starting at the same time, 7 o'clock, and they will go at 8 o'clock, not to 8:30. And that sometimes they go a little longer because there's a video, but I'm going to do this. I'm not going to put the whole video in. At the time I need to cut off, I'm going to cut off, and then you'll just have to go back and look at the video yourself, because I don't want the lectures to go too much beyond an hour for the because I respect the fact that people have different times and stuff. And I've moved it up to 7. Those of you who have been in classes of mine prior to last term, I always had lectures at 8:30, but I decided I would try to move it up, and that's what I did. Now, so then your initial post will normally be due on Tuesday nights, and then reply post Saturday nights. If you submit a post late, you will lose a point. So if you submit your initial post by Saturday, then if you submit that by Saturday and it's due on Tuesday, which will be starting next week, so I'm not going to confuse you, that you will lose 4 points because it'll be late. And then if you submit your reply post on Sunday, which is technically over, I give you a chance to do it, and you will get a point taken away from that. Okay. So just to clarify, for the week 1, both initial and reply posts are due Saturday the 13th. And that if you submit the post on Sunday, you will lose points unless you submit at least one by Saturday and then one Sunday. Then you'll still lose points, but you'll get credit for it. So I hope that clarifies discussion posts. All right. So then here's the requirements in this course. You have readings because you have chapters. I'll give you the PowerPoints to help you. I don't use them in the lecture because of the fact that they're really good tools to help you. When I was in college a long time ago, we had this thing called Cliff Notes, and your parents might be familiar with that, where it was like an outline of the book that we were using, and it was a summary, and we used that to study by. That's kind of like what the PowerPoints are good for, but don't substitute the readings for the PowerPoints. I caution students about that. I've already discussed the discussion assignments. Quizzes, there will be 5 quizzes starting with this week, and then the final week there's a final exam. So there's a quiz for weeks 1 through 5. They are timed, good people. they're a closed book, okay, as well. I recommend that you do the quizzes the last day of the due date so that you will have gone through the material and be ready for it. And then there's some things I'm going to show you tonight that'll help you as well. Assignments due each week, and to make sure that you master the competencies, the material that's in the chapter, the material that's in the module, and then the comments and things that I share with you for it. We have a rubric that I will be using, and we will be talking about that for each written assignment. We don't have one for the discussion assignments. Well, there is one, but we don't use this, very general. So, and then the final exam will consist of 20 multiple choice questions. Okay, and this talks about the live classroom lecture. Okay, here's how the percentage of grades break down. 120 points for discussion posts that are on time and good content, 340 for perfect papers, 75 for getting all the points on your quizzes, 40 points here, and then 30 here. That's a total of 605 points. I am going to say this once. I work on honor roll and dean's list. That's how I teach. Now, I don't not help C students. My goal is not to get you the C student. So here's what I'm going to tell you, or a D student, and certainly not an F student. Do not text me, call me, email me any hour of the day about how do I get a C in your class. It's going to be like crickets. I'm not going to be responding because the fact that I don't think that's what I want to do for you. It's a disservice to you to do that to you, because when you get into the real world and work, and it gets to the point that you have a good work ethic and you've done well, you've got commendations and things like that in school, employers will consider that when hiring people. Believe me, it's true. I know what I'm talking about. I've done pretty well through college and law school and seminary. And I found myself able to get jobs. I have not been turned down from a job. I have turned down jobs. And that's the way you want to operate. Okay. So let's agree on that and get that point across. Okay, you should know this, that it is my job to generally get all of your grades for the week before to you, or show up in the grade book by 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time on Friday nights. So week 1 assignments would be graded by the 19th. That's a week from Friday the 12th. And it actually you'll see it Saturday. I mean, unless you're up real late. But sometimes I grade a few during the week. But and I have a smaller group this term, so I might be able to do something a little faster. But the deadline for your assignments is to be graded is by Friday, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard, and I should really easily be able to adhere to that this term. Okay. When communicating with me, please include your first name and last name, as well as the course title and number. Okay. And that's extremely important. I mean, you can do that when you text me, when you call me, and then make sure I know the class title. I don't necessarily have to know the course number. If you tell me the title, like, drugs and crime, I'll know already, because the other course I teach is constitutional law. So that's for us to communicate with each other. And I love to communicate with my students. Transferable skills. In this course and in other courses, we've identified 6 transferable skills. They're called transferable skills because they transfer to your careers in working. And employers want you to be proficient in these. And I'm just going to touch on them, but there are other places that you'll find more about it, and I'll show you that. But they're not necessarily in order of importance. However, they are things that are there. And you should note that some of these are individual, like, for example, digital fluency and information literacy. Those are pretty much yourself. But communication, written and oral, that's why we're so tough with writing. I had a student that said that I grade them like they were professionals. I said, I give you information and guidance and expect you to perform like a professional. If there's a gap, I can fill it for you, but you have to let me know you need it. And that's why we have citations and references requirement. That's why we run our papers through Grammarly and check the plagiarism box. And the plagiarism box will tell me how much of your paper is your creative portion or the portion that you copied. What some students do will copy and paste material, then throw in a few sentences. It ain't gonna fly. It's gonna get you a Grammarly hit. And I will give you a warning the first time. The second time, I will be reporting it to the school as required. They used to have us do it right away, but they've asked us at least to help students, particularly those who are new to the school itself. So written and oral communication, very important to utilize. And because your written documents end up as exhibits in courts. I was a criminal defense lawyer. I was a prosecutor. I was a police officer. I was an investigator. And I've been on all sides. I was a paralegal, law clerk. I can tell you the importance of having good communication. Being able to communicate now with people from various backgrounds. One of the fastest growing populations in the United States of America is Hispanic. And I always say, se hablo poquito en español. I say I speak a little Spanish, it's poquito. However, I learned a lot from the people that I know that speak Spanish that have helped me a whole lot in terms of communication. But it's a skill that's going to be needed. My daughter is in school now, she's 13, and she hates the Spanish class, but I told her you don't want to do that, even though it's the school, the techniques that you learn in Spanish really don't work very well, but you learn foundational things, So, but anyway, the point of the matter is written and oral communication is so critical, and we focus on that. Critical thinking. We want you to be able to think on your feet. We want you to be able to uh, not just take material, but own it, make it a part of you, and think about issues that you're dealing with because of the fact that you're going to be a professional one day and you're going to need to critical thinking. I was looking at the George Floyd murder case and the testimony of the chief Arredondo of the Minnesota Police Department, Minneapolis Police Department, and he mentioned several times that the police officers were required to be critical thinkers. And that's important. And in every field now, you're critical thinking. I'm a natural critical thinker because I went to law school and at Northwestern. And that turned me into, even though I was before that, it just enhanced it a little bit there. But critical thinking, digital fluency, everything is digital. Most of your reports are done by either a Word document or a PDF, and I'm talking about when you're in the professional world. But you usually use Word a whole lot. You learn how to use Excel spreadsheets and things of that nature. You learn how to use PowerPoint. You learn how to use publisher and all of those, even though I'm not very good at that, but I know how to follow it if I have to. But the basic ones are Word document, PDFs, and PowerPoint. But as I said earlier in this class, your written assignments are going to be Word document unless otherwise stated. Your textbooks are digital. When I was in school, we had these huge books. Thank God I don't have to carry them around. I have books for this class and the other classes that I teach right here on my phone. And I'm an Android person. Most of you young people are into Apple phones. I always jokingly say I don't like Apple because I don't like anything that has a bite taken out of it. And if you know what the symbol of Apple is, you know what I'm talking about. But there's an app that I have on my phone, and I'm trying to find it. I must be going past it. Bookshelf, there it is. So I have all my titles, titles, the classes that I teach. Okay, yeah. See, now like this one, I just opened up. You can see it. If you, I think you can see it. It says drugs and crime. That's my textbook there, and I have the whole book. There's the cover right there. So I have all of that on my phone. You can download an app for that as well. So digital fluency is so important. It's very important for me because I came from an era where there was no such animal. When I came out of law school, we had not had it, and I came to this school to teach residentially, and then I had to learn how to teach online classes starting in 2000. I came 10 years now. I've been here. 2012 is when I started teaching residentially. Online classes. Teamwork, diversity, and teamwork. Our population at this school is very diverse. We have people from all walks of life, all views, all religious beliefs, all sexual preferences, LGBT. We have individuals. That's what that he, she, her thing is all about now. Transgenders. We have all of this going. And so we recognize that we're living in a diverse world and that diversity is actually good. And so many of the organizations that exist in the criminal justice field, you try to have people that some of the people who can look like them or speak like them or communicate like them. That doesn't mean that others can't, but it balances everything out. Teamwork, you're going to be working with individuals from all groups. In this class, your teamwork comes in the form of your discussion assignments. But you'll be working in teams. And if I had, more students in classes, on lectures, like the nursing programs that I know they break them up in teams, but that's because they have requirements for attendance that are different. Ethics and professional responsibility. Ethics is the beginning and the end. You should always follow the process. Shortcuts are not a good thing. Trust me. Cheating and falsifying, or what I call selective recall, not going to get you very far. I always say just that an unethical student is going to be an unethical professional, and their careers will end. You hear people all the time, and it looks really bad. Now, I'm going to give you an example that's really big in the news just right now. Um, I'm a Bear fan, but the Packer quarterback Aaron Rodgers recently lied about him, taking the shot. And so, I state my position, get the shot. Well, this school does too. But the point of the matter is that here's the point. What he did was he lied about it, and he ended up with COVID, which doesn't mean that just because you got the shot, you don't end up with COVID, but you can recover better from it. Anyway, I'm 71 years old, and I know I got my booster and all of that stuff, but ethics makes you look bad if you missupply them. This man right now has lost respect from some of his own fans because of the fact that he just he outright lied to the people. When you do that and develop as a habit, that can get you in trouble, big trouble. I can tell you that as a lawyer, I know people who ran into big trouble like that. I know accountants. I know people who worked in criminal justice field who were correction officers who ended up becoming inmates because they violated the ethical principles and the professional responsibility of your job. So they want you to be able to abide by them. And then the last one is what we call information literacy. Credible sources is demonstrated pretty much by citations and references in our papers. Using APA enhances that. But also, we should not use certain sources to cite because they're not credible sources. You'll hear the term thrown around, credible sources, by people not just in this class or in the school, but you'll hear it. I've heard at least in several court cases. And so anyway, information literacy. So therefore, I'm going to ask you, there is one source that we tell students never to use in their papers or discussion posts. Somebody tell me what that is. Type it in there. What is it? Because if you use it, you're going to lose points like right away. What source is it? See, nobody put anything in the course. Type chat. So what is it? Type it in the chat box. I'll see it. What is one source that you never use? Nobody knows? I don't see anybody typing it in. Okay, I gotta keep moving. It's Wikipedia. Never use Wikipedia. If you use Wikipedia as a source, you're gonna mess up. And the reason is because it's not a credible source. Okay, it's a word-based source and can change. Attendance policy, I'm gonna skip over. Okay, here's something that you need to pay close attention to. I'm not going to refer to the discussion post because I already talked about that. But this is about written assignments. It says students may submit written assignments up to 7 days after the deadline, but each day you lose 10%. Okay, and then it says in some cases students may be asked to complete an alternate assignment. I don't do that. I don't do that with students. But here's the point I want to tell you. Think about it. Don't get comfortable with the 7 days, because if you lose 10 points for each day, you're going to be messed up by the middle of the week. Tell you what I mean. Sunday, if you turn it in on time and it's a good content, it would be 100. You turn in that same paper on Monday, it's going to be a 90. You turn it in on Tuesday, it's going to be an 80. By Wednesday, it's a 70. By Thursday, it's a 60, and you see what I mean. But you may get some points, but not. So you want to keep your assignments on time. Okay. Now go to the third line. It says instructors may waive the late penalty or time frame in the case of extenuating circumstances, as defined again by the faculty. That means not your dean, not the president of the school, not your advisor, but it is I who determine whether or not extenuating circumstances exist. Let me know. That was why I said earlier about texting me or calling me to let me know. And I work very well with that. I'm very liberal in terms of dealing with that. So it's very important. All right. So that's what I wanted to bring to your attention. All right, the incomplete grade policy, I'll let you read that yourself. Hopefully none of you will ever need it. I had a couple students that needed it this time. And then read the academic integrity policy on here, okay? Now, let's get to the announcements. I've already put these up and you can go and read them at any time. This helps you with APA. If you click on this, it opens up the toolbox and it helps you with APA. Then it tells you about preventing plagiarism, in-text citations, and so forth. All of those things. So you want to, I have that in the course, so I'm not going to elaborate on that. I'll come back to this in a second. Okay. Adversity is the springboard to success is not an assignment. It is something to tell you about me, because you'll see adversity is the springboard to success at the bottom of each weekly announcement. And it tells a story about what I went through on my way to becoming what I am today. If you click on this, it takes you to YouTube. And it's about 1 hour and 3 minutes. And you can sit down and listen to it. Feel free to share it with others as well. And I talk about some things that are personal, but I share them with my students to encourage my students so that you understand why I'm so empathetic. It is not a lecture, but it is something, a tool to help you. The welcome announcement, just quickly, you saw this already. And the most important part is it tells you about when our lectures take place. Today, for week one lecture today at 7. And then week 2, 3, 4, and 5, every Tuesday beginning next Tuesday, the 16th. Okay. And then there are other things in there as well. This will be up the whole time. Okay, so I'm going to go to the academic integrity video. And that gentleman you see is John Malatic. He used to be my dean at Romeoville, but now he is the Learning Center dean, and he works with those people that are student tutors, and they work together. In our program, we have Bethany Marston, who works in that area, and then we have Dennis Johnson, who is our librarian for criminal justice. So I'm going to take my headphones out, and you can listen to this. This is about 4 minutes. I want you to listen to this very carefully. It might be hard to pick up, but I put it on there. Okay, subtitles are there, and pay attention to this. Uh, can you hear my voice? Can you hear me talking? Yeah, I don't know. There's something with the system. That's why I tell you to read it, but you can go back and listen to it on your own as well. Okay. Yeah. Read the captions, and then you'll see what they're doing in the pictures. Something's wrong with the system. I don't know what it is. I don't control it because it's up on my end. I'm gonna plug it in and just see if that changes it. But can you hear it now? I didn't think so. But when I take it out, okay. Yeah, I don't know what it is about that. Does that I have no idea what to do, but I can tell you, you can go back yourself and listen to it. But that's why I make sure that the closed caption, so you can get the idea of the things that you don't do, and you also begin to see why we take the position that citations and references, you get that information out, and you also know the sources that you can go to get help as well. But you can go back and listen to that. Like I said again, it's about a 4 minute thing. I don't know. I don't know how they how to fix that. I've tried it. They said yeah, it works okay now. But anyway, um, there's when you're dealing with internet and you're dealing with these things, sometimes it doesn't come out right. All right, let's move on because we got a little over half an hour to go. Module 1. These are the assignments for Module 1. But this is the topic, psychoactive drugs, categories, the effects on the body, classification, controlled substances. That's what the whole week 1 is all about. Chapters 1 and 2 of your textbook and complete the activities, Controlled Substance Act, controlled substance activity, narcotics, amphetamine, cocaine, and marijuana, synthetic drugs, and transferable skills. I talked to you a little bit about that a few minutes ago, but you can go back and look at that as well. All right, and then this is the link again to get to the lecture. Your discussion assignment, classification of drugs and controlled substances, you'll see that they both are due this Saturday, as I said earlier. Finally, your quiz and the written assignment, impact of controlled substances, are due by Sunday. Okay, and then it reminds you about the first lecture being an open house, which is taking place right now, and also has a link there for that. And then when I was talking about my motto is adversity to springboard to success, that's why I include that in there. So each week you will see an announcement like that. Remember what today is. Today is simply going over the processes so that you can know what to expect for each week. Okay. It's going to be, I won't be going over all that other stuff that like, I'll mention just the week announcement for the assignment for that week, and then we'll go from there. All right. So at this particular point, do anybody have any questions before I get into the week 1 information? Okay. Denise, any questions? Okay. So now this is how each week works. Okay, so I first go over the assignments, which is the assignment, the discussion post, and the quiz. And then we get down here and then we start dealing with these issues here. Okay, so let's look at the assignment that you have that's due on Sunday. As you can see, there is a scenario here, which is very, very important for this class. Extremely important. If you click on this, you're going to download the original file. Telling you why in a minute. And it's a Word document. Here it comes. Okay, that's for me. Okay, so this fact pattern right here, it's a read only for me here. Okay, okay, I know that. Okay, I'm not trying to edit it. So you read this fact pattern. You're going to use this fact pattern every written assignment that you do for weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There is not a written assignment for week 6. I'll double check that, but I'm 90% sure that that's the way it is here. But you're going to download this and you want to save it because you're going to use this, okay, in your papers that you complete. You're going to mention it. You'll see as we go over the rubric. But it's very important that you get that, okay? Okay, let's get out of this. Save. And see, that's how you do it. You save it, and you can like put it on your desktop, and then click save. I already have it on there, so I canceled it. But you can put that on your desktop, and you will have it. Okay. So I'll put in here, don't save. All right. So you want to save that. So for this week's assignment, you're going to need to address each substance that Dave has been consuming with the category and drug schedule level for each of these substances. Describe the impact, the social impact of Dave's drug use. I'll be talking about that in a little bit. Explain the biological and psychological effects of his drug use. Now, it says use at least one credible source. I want to tell you this. I hate that. I hate that statement. They should never say at least one, because that doesn't help you to do well in my grading. The reason why is because credible resources consist of citations in the body, not a citation, and the rest is without it. It's not a good way to get you to be professional. I, as a lawyer, and learn, and you should know this too in other areas, that if you put some information in your paper, the reader should be able to know the source of that information. Does that make sense? Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because then the reader can go and see the source. I'm a professional, but I still have to cite sources. I remember many times standing before judges and hearing officers, counselor, what's your source of this information? And don't tell me your legal educational background and experience. They want to see what noted sources. There are people who did research or provided information. That's what we're talking about. That's why I mentioned research earlier. Use blah, blah, blah. Use professional language with correct spelling, grammar, and punctuation. This is where people fall short. A 2 to 3 page paper, and I'm going to show you in the rubric in just a minute. All right, that's how I really grade you through the rubric. And your comments for what you fall short will be shown in the rubric and the grade book under the section for details. So a 2 to 3 page paper, that's the minimum requirement, okay? Submit it, look, it says, as a Word document, okay? And the file and the name and so forth, and add it to the file, the Dropbox that goes in, that you know what I'm talking about by submission, okay? Now, here is the rubric. This is the rubric. Now, I operate from the left side, which is mastery. Here's what I pretty much would like to do. You see this right here? I could hit this and this will be gone. I could hit that and that will be gone. I can hit that and that will be gone. But the reason why I don't is because if you don't do over here, I need to be able to click on the section for substances and say, you provided me incomplete or classification of the substances. Okay? You need to do that. Very important, with credible sources. Exemplary identification with thorough details on the category and drug schedule for each substance as it tells you in the written assignment. The social impact. Remember I talked about information literacy? Credible sources. Exemplary example, using credible sources. Notice that they put the S on in here. That's why I said that I hate that they put that 1 in there. So anyway, just beware that I grade you by the rubric, okay? Very important for you to do it. And if people don't pay attention to the lecture, they will miss that point. So if you don't give credible sources, guess what? You're going to end up all the way over here, missing credible sources. And you lose half the points right here, or go down to 12.5% of your grade. Biological effects. Explanation of the biological effects of the drugs using, once again, credible sources. You see why I said one source doesn't do it? Do you see why I said that? I mean, other than the fact that it supports your statements, but it also is important for you to demonstrate that you've done some research. Then the psychological effects, same thing. Notice it says credible sources. You will lose points if you don't. I can't put you in either of these. Then if it's a 2-page paper, by the way, it's double space. Please, double space. And if you don't do that, it's going to end up over here. If yours pages is 1.5, 1 3/4, 2 pages. I want to see 2 full pages. I'm not talking about where you got an abstract and then continue. No, 2 full pages of content of information, and then a citation, and then a reference page as well. But this is what you're going to hear me talk about over and over again. All right. Any questions? Okay, Denise, any questions? Okay, so that's the advantage of coming to the lecture. I can ask you that then. There are people that are going to look at this and they can have questions. And then what some of them do, they won't write down their questions, and then they won't reach out to me and let me know, or either they'll do the assignment and then reach out to me. I said, no, don't do that. And then say, can I do it again? No, you cannot. Which, oh, by the way, speaking of that, for your own information, if you have unlimited attempts before the due date for the written assignment, which means simply this, that if you do your assignment early in the week, which is kind of counterproductive, to be honest with you, because you need to become familiar with the material. And then you have your lecture early enough in the week to be able to give you time to get it done by that Sunday. The point of the matter is that I personally do my research and my due diligence to understand the concepts that are required for my assignment before I put it together. Otherwise, you do double work. And if you happen to come to the lectures on Tuesdays, or listen to the lectures at least Tuesday night after because I convert them over to where you can get them on any source that you get, because it's YouTube. And I do that because sometimes trouble takes place with the WebEx page, and they're doing work on it, but it doesn't impact my students. Okay. So this is where I want you to think of. I want you to act as if this doesn't even exist. Ask yourself before you turn in your papers, did I satisfy each of the elements for myself? And oftentimes you'll know it. I can tell you when a student has done what I call a cram session for writing or putting their paper together. I can tell. I can tell. Trust me, because it shows up in the quality of the paper, not the quantity. Okay, so that's it for that. Let's move that up there. All right, let's go next to the discussion assignment. Okay, so after you've learned from your reading about this, you read all of this, then prepare your discussion posts. And you're going to learn about the classification of Schedule 1 and 2 drugs, controlled substance. Here's a link, and I always test the links to make sure that they're working. And then it says it's not found, but it is there. Where is it? I'm trying to find it. It's on this page. I remember one of my students pointing it out. Resources. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to have to talk to PSC again. But I'll show you another place where you'll be able to find it in this module. Conduct additional research to learn about criminal activity associated with drugs or controlled substance, and then locate a news article. This is for your discussion assignment. This is not your written assignment. So for your initial post, choose a drug from one of these lists. Okay, one of these on this list. Okay, or another drug scheduled in 1 or 2 other than heroin or marijuana. We'll talk about that a little later. And then next discuss these issues and points here. And then for your reply post, respond to a student with a different one. Okay, now I'll show you where you can find your information. Quiz, I cannot click on it. If I click on it, it's going to show you the quiz. And it's a 30-minute quiz. And like I said, your time is closed book. Your live recording will be here. I will take this out and change it to the link, and this is where you could get it. However, I will also email it to you so that you will have it in an email that's sent to you right after, well, by tonight, it'll be done. Okay. And then your live classroom key phrase or word that I give you for your 5 points, where you enter it into the Dropbox, and then you get your points for it. Okay. So that's the assignments. So let's talk about these things. So now let's help you out here. Let's talk about this. Remember, we were talking about the schedules. Okay, here we go. It's right in here. And so you should be aware that controlled substances is a very serious battle. You're going to hear me repeat over and over in this course, number one, that we are in a, we talk about the pandemic being epidemic. Well, guess what? Our issues dealing with opioids and overdoses are based on Schedule 1 and 2 drugs primarily, are at a peak level. And notice the way it works is the lower the number schedule, the more serious are the drugs. Okay. And then you got Schedule 1 and 2 primarily being the major offenders. LSD, ecstasy, peyote. You all don't hear about peyote that much, but it's a drug that's sometimes used in religious ceremonies by Native Americans. And then ecstasy, well, that's something that sends you on a trip, put you out of your mind. LSD in the 60s and 70s, it was big, but it's still going on now. And a lot of times, and then marijuana. Now, let me tell you, marijuana is being legalized in most jurisdictions. However, be aware that there's still a lot of illegal marijuana out there that people get. You know, go to those dispensaries, and those are soaked in, and we're going to talk about that, stuff that will kill you, that goes into your body. And so as a result of that, the thing that I always say to my students from the very beginning is get into your mind that the course is called Drugs and Crime. There's a reason why it's called that. Drugs and the use and abuse lead to crime. If we got a handle on the drug issue, crime will decrease. And I represented people in many of those cases, and I dealt with it in law enforcement as well, is that people commit crimes to support their drug habits. These are not bad people. And there's some offenses that happen that are pretty bad, but when that drug has you, it controls you. You're like a puppet to it or a slave to it. And it tells you, to take things. And so the scheduled drugs, number one, it says no medical or accepted medical use, except sometimes marijuana, for glaucoma. Schedule 2 drugs are abuse that can lead to psychological and physical dependence. Vicodin, cocaine, crack cocaine, methamphetamines, methadone, diaduted, Demerol, oxycodone. You're going to hear a lot about that in this class. Oxycontin, fentanyl, dexedrine, Adderall, and Ritalin. You're going to hear us talk about Narcan later on, which we'll reserve the discussion about it now. Some of you may know about that. It's a very serious issue. Schedule 3 drugs are considered as moderate to low potential for physical and psychological dependence. However, they can, if not used properly, like for example, Tylenol with codeine, ketamine, anabolic steroids, and anabolic steroids, and testosterone. Level 4 drugs, low abuse, such as Xanax, Darvon, Darvocet, Valiums. The key thing is that you'll notice that abuse of these things, Schedule 5 are the lowest, and consists of cough medicines. People take cough syrup and they'll mix that and they'll drink that. I had a guy I knew, he was a syrup addict, and he literally would drink cough syrup. He literally would drink it. And Robitussin and those kinds of things. So the key thing that you should be aware of, and I do say this, that marijuana, I don't care what nobody says, how legal you make it, it's still a gateway drug, and it can lead to other substance abuses. Now, to show you where this all came from, these have to work here. This is where you learn in the statutes, the federal level, about these things here. But that's some information for you to do some research. But what I wanted to make sure that you're aware of where you can get your schedule. Here it is, right here. And it tells you Schedule 1s, Schedule 2s, Schedule 3s, Schedule 4s, Schedule 5s. And it tells you down here further what drugs fall under what schedules. So that's why that other thing didn't really matter. Okay, and it goes all the way down, the whole thing, Schedule 2, and lists them all. So we have the resources in there for you. So I can hear somebody already saying, oh, I tried to click on the link before, so I couldn't do the assignment. So did you listen to the lecture? Did you see that it's there? You can, and you know what you can do if you wanted to? You can actually, I think you can actually save this thing. I don't know if you can or not. Well, you can do screenshots, but the bottom line is this: is that it's all over the place, and you can find it. This is actually the link right here, up here. So if a person took that link, they could actually find it themselves too as well. Okay. All right. So now you know where the Controlled Substance Act and how that operates. Okay. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it gives you the tools to help you. Okay. Then there are narcotics, amphetamines, cocaine, and marijuana. So what are narcotics? And it tells you in here a variety of substances that dull the senses and relieve pain. So I'm a person who, I'm afraid of painkillers. My wife will tell you, I'll take pain sometime, and I do have back pains. I will take what I need to take, but I'm very minimally, because you're going to read and learn in videos that I will be sharing with you during the weeks to come about how these things can lead to opioids. And then opioids are heroin, oxycodone, Vicodin, codeine, morphine, methadone, and fentanyl. Heroin is a widely abused narcotic, injected, smoked, or snorted. People, their whole lives are changed. The quality of life that they had as individuals, they can be zombies and not live. I have a sister who, one of my toughest jobs was in '94. She and when you hear my story, you'll know that she's the baby. Overdosed on cocaine, and I had to bury her because I'm also a pastor and a minister. I wasn't a pastor then, but I was a minister then. I've been a pastor since 2011, and I had to deal with that. But there are so many young people speaking of that, um, everybody know on the news about the event that took place down in Houston, right? Involving that, I can't think of his first name. Is it Travis Scott? Travis Scott? Yeah, Travis Scott. If you listen very carefully to what they were saying that was happening, that stampede, that what contributed to it was some of the things that we're talking about now. Uh, that there were they discovered needles, and that there was one police officer at least that we know for a fact that got stuck in the neck, and they had to give him Narcan. While I mention that, do you know what Narcan is? Anybody don't know? Do you know what Narcan is and the purpose of Narcan? Okay. Denise, do you know what Narcan is and the purpose of it? Noxalone is one. Do you know? Have you ever heard of it?
Isn't it like a drug that is injected for someone who has overdosed on something?
That's exactly what it does. Is it arrests the symptoms and saves their lives. Exactly. Thank you. And Narcan is one. We'll be talking about it more in details. But the reason why I mention it is because you heard the news people say that Narcan had to be injected to save the life. And yes, that's one of the tools that EMTs, uh, the first responders now have in their toolkits. And you'll hear me talk about some individuals that I've had a chance to deal with and meet along the way. But yes, so and it can arrest those. The only problem is that if it doesn't get you in time, that's it. I mean, it can bring you back from the dead, literally. Again, we're gonna get more in detail, and I'm just introducing you to it. So thank you for that. That's absolutely correct. So, and then we talk about where narcotics came from and the origin of it. The effects of narcotics on the body. Look what it does. Read this. Produce a great sense of well-being by reducing tension, anxiety, and aggression. They are helpful in medical settings, but can contribute to drug abuse. That's what I was talking about, and you're going to learn that. And it can make you drowsy, like you don't drive and all of that. You can't concentrate, and it also slows your thinking down. It dilates your pupils. It does all kinds of things, and then some can result in death. Physical dependence is a consequence of chronic opioid use and withdrawal. And we certainly have a crisis in this country now regarding that. And so skipping over this, amphetamines are stimulants that speed up the body. So it's like a speed, injected, snorted, or smoked. Um, and then this just talks about where it came from. It can do, look what it does. It increases your breathing, your heart rate, anything that causes your body to function differently than it was. Like for example, speed. You know, I don't drink those energy drinks. I don't drink them. Like Monster. First of all, with something with the name Monster, what the devil am I put it in my body for? Is that what I want to be? You know, there's all kinds of names that they have. Red Bull. The point of the matter is that these things do something to your heart, and it makes your heart palpitate, and you know, some you get excess energy. When I was in law school, we had this thing called Jolt, and it was a soda, and it had lightning bolts on it, and you drink this stuff, and you wouldn't go to sleep. Your eyes would be like you'd be looking like this. You couldn't close them, and you know, but it messed you up. So I didn't do that stuff, but anyway, the point of the matter is we have to be careful about these things that and what they'll do to your body. Cocaine, I talked about that, can be injected, snorted, or smoked. I will talk about my experiences as a police officer in what was called the crack cocaine capital of the south suburbs in Chicago. in weeks to come. But I have seen and doing my police training, certified to deal with cocaine busts and all of that kind of stuff. And, you know, it's as it says here, and you're going to learn this, most of our cocaine comes through Mexico, comes from China as well. But then you'll see more synthetics come from there. Cocaine on the body, and this is what it does, and this is what it did to my baby sister. It increased her blood pressure and heart rate, and she went into a heart attack, cardiac arrest. She actually had a brain aneurysm, and that's what was brought on from that. And then it talks about the effects. Marijuana, you know, once again, um, uh, it they, marijuana, it says it may be added to brownies. There was a TV show used to come on called Barney Miller. Any of y'all ever heard of that show? Barney Miller? Did you ever see the segment where someone brought the brownies to the precinct and they were laced with marijuana? Did you ever see that? That one? Yeah, I mean seriously, it'll do that. People put it in brownies, they put it in cookies. Which, by the way, now that I've said that, did you not know you can go to the dispensaries? There's one called Rise in Illinois, for example, and they got several outlets, and you can go on their website and you can order cookies and candy, you know. So the whole thing of CBD, you got to be careful about that stuff. I'm really leery about all of that. You guys know what I'm talking about. So anyway, the point of the matter is, it can result in dizziness and things of that nature. So anyway, this is some of the effects of these three things. All right. I'd get into this more if we had time, but this is not a regular lecture. Synthetic drugs. This is what I was talking about earlier. These are drugs that are made in a lab, and they are sold through the internet. They have a thing called Spice K2 Spice, and it looks like candy. But when you eat these things, uh, you can you can overdose. You can go into a coma. Then they have this thing called bath salts. Has nothing to do with taking a bath, and it tells you what's in it. Uh, it's really bad. Again, we'll get into that in weeks to come in more details. But bath salts and spice and other substances similar to what we call THC, the main ingredient in regular marijuana, are synthetic cannabinoids and are listed in Schedule 1. Most states have state laws as well, criminalizing them as well. So then the last thing here is, and I won't go over it, but you can take a look at it, and then it elaborates on what I just talked about earlier. And then there is a nice little video, a 351, that you can look at yourself to learn about transferable skills. So I'm almost at the time. And so this week, you just had an introduction to it. I've given you enough information to help you with your assignment. The most important thing that you learn is where you can find Schedule 1, the schedules, and how they work. Any questions about anything? No questions? Okay. Do you have a question that you want to ask me before we go? I'm going to stop sharing. You should have a question to ask me. That's unfair. Andrew knows me. Yeah, you came after this. But yeah, code word is actually it, but what is the answer you want us to add to the live class box? I'll give you some, at least one guess if you can, but I got one that I want to give you for this week. What is it? Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to guess? Going once, going twice, three times. Drugs and crime. That's it. Give me drugs and crime, and you get your points. Put that in there, and you'll get it. Now, somebody is going to come back and say, yeah, you didn't say what the code word was. I said it. You know, that I gave it to you, so I'm not going to repeat it. But yeah, one thing you'll learn about me, Denise, and Andrew can tell you that if you pay attention to the whole lecture itself, generally you will be able to come up with what I'm thinking. Am I right, Andrew? Yeah, so I'm not gonna, try to trick you, but and I generally have one in mind, but then there have been times when students have given me a better one and I've used it. But yeah, that's the one I gave you: drugs and crime. Final time I said. See you next week. Remember, next week, do not try to come to the lecture on Wednesday because you will have missed it. It will be Tuesday night, okay? Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. If you come in Monday at 7 o'clock, you'll be in constitutional law. That's why I'll be in the same room. So I had a student once ask me, why is it that your lectures are all at the same place, different classes? I says, for the same reason that if you have me teaching in room 101 in the building, and I teach history at one period, and then the next period I teach science. Oh, yeah, I didn't think of it like that. But anyway, yeah. So it's the one. It's the one. Okay. Good night, guys. Have a good week. Stay safe. And again, if you have questions, you know how to reach me. And I'll see you next week. All right. Thanks for coming out to the session. Good night.